Hello. Hello. We are back. Well, actually, we haven't been gone that long because we
didn't want to make the other video too long.
Yeah. So we literally just made a decision to come at you from the heart about our London Marathon.
Indeed. So if you want to look at the... Sorry, hello and welcome back to 24 Hour TV. We'll sideline that. So yeah, if you want to look at our sort of public race review of the London Marathon, go back to the previous video. We decided sort of halfway through that we wanted to also do a personal race review about what we learned from the London Marathon and how it was for us.
Sorry, during the break I had a biscuit.
Yeah, a little bit peckish. You want to just finish that?
Yeah.
Saving it for later?
Yeah. Okay.
So
marathon
we'll give you a little medal flash again because you know.
Yeah, why not? So this sort of part 2 of London Marathon, we're going to go into a bit more detail about our race, what we learned, how we went into it, maybe a little bit about not necessarily our training but how we prepared for it, and how that kind of differed to 2015. Also about the race itself, the conditions of the race which affected our race.
Which if you haven't heard, it was hot.
And also our thoughts afterwards, because we'll talk a lot about it, but we went in kind of with a mindset that we're really proud of and one that we feel like we stuck to. But of course we're human and we all question things, and that's okay. And the more we've talked about it, the more we've realised that actually the way that we've questioned sort of our performance and our race is just because we're desperate to improve, which is cool, and that's great, and it's our job, so why wouldn't we want to? It would be like someone saying they don't want a promotion. Well, of course they do. So yeah.
So I think going back to the beginning, so comparing 2015, which was our first ever marathon and why we started Twice the Health, to 2018, basically our training. So in 2015, we had been training, like strength training, but as soon as we got placed in the marathon, we're like, well, don't need to do that. Let's go back to just running and let's introduce a lot of HIIT, which resulted in injury. And we were happy runners, and we loved running, but we weren't strong and efficient runners.
I think also what's important to remember is in 2015, I got a phone call from my mum's friend, and she said, I've got 2 places in the London Marathon. Now I didn't, obviously I knew how far a marathon was, but I didn't really know what it entailed. All I knew was it was a cool thing to do, and we just moved to London and it would be a cool thing for us to do. As 2 people who could run, it would be cool to do the London Marathon. I'd heard friends and family who'd done it and they've said it's an incredible day, but I didn't really think about what it entailed. I simply just said yes. So we went into it slightly unknowing. When we signed up to London Marathon this year, we knew exactly what we were getting ourselves in for. We also knew that we had the responsibility of a team. So the whole mindset, the whole kind of preparation, which you'd think would put more stress on you, kind of knowing and being aware of the fact you've got the responsibility as people, was totally different. But actually I feel I was 10 times,
I think it calmed us,
more stressed in 2015 than I was in, and not even stressed, just kind of, I guess, anxious and concerned about whether or not I could actually do a marathon, because it's a long way, it's a big deal, and it's so difficult to forget that. So many people are doing more than a marathon now, or doing all these crazy things that take them all over the world and take them days and years and whatever, that we kind of lose sight of how incredible it is to achieve running a marathon.
Yeah, so along with the mindset obviously of going in, at least knowing we could physically cover that distance because we had done it before. So I think that just takes that first stress away from you. And we've now been training with our coach Brad for about a year, pretty much. And that has just completely changed how we run. Well, obviously we still look like we run the same, but just how we feel and how we recover from a run as well.
And how we associate with running type thing as well. I think, and we talk about this a lot, and it will play a big part in this conversation, in that when we kind of started to run again, we stripped away time, we stripped away pressure of speed, we stripped away pressure of pace, we stripped away kind of anything technical that came with running. We simply just ran to enjoy it, obviously aside from kit and, you know, stay safe. But we really did kind of strip it back. And as we've trained with Brad, obviously, thankfully, we've become stronger, and with that we've become faster. And that's cool, that's great, and something we're really, really, really proud of. But as you become better at something, often you begin to enjoy it more because it's a strength. And that's definitely been more apparent since we've been training with Brad. And I'm not saying speed is the only strength you can have with running, because it's definitely not, and it's definitely not the only strength we've developed through Brad, but it is a very measurable thing. and something that we've noticed kind of decrease as we've got stronger and the longer we've been training with Brad. And also that puts us not only in ourselves, we see ourselves as stronger runners, but it also, thanks to Strava and things like that, which are great tools and great apps to measure your progress, it also puts you as stronger runners in the eyes of others. And that was definitely something we noticed going into this London Marathon, in terms of how people kind of envisage us doing and our training, is we got a lot of, well, of course you're running London Marathon, or you guys are going to kill it because you're super fast, and all of these things. Which is cool, it's great. And by the way, we're not super fast. What is fast?
She is.
Another kind of topic that we don't need to go into. But we enjoy running, and so therefore we put time into it, so we've got stronger and more efficient and better at it.
Yeah. So I think then when we turned up on race day, I actually felt really at peace with the race. Like,
that's a really good way to put it, at peace, yeah.
I wasn't, obviously you're nervous, you'd be insane if you weren't, but like, yeah, I didn't feel like I was going to be sick, whereas I felt like that was where I was in 2015. I didn't know what to do with myself in 2015. And I felt like we were in that pen for 5 hours, whereas this time it just felt...
And that didn't know what to do with yourself is so apparent with everything we've just said, because we didn't know what to do with ourselves because we didn't know how our bodies were going to react. We didn't really know what we'd got ourselves into. All we knew is that we had a long road ahead of us. Literally. And by the end of the day, we would get there, but we didn't know what that was going to entail. Going into this race, and this is a negative and a positive, and that will become more apparent as to why as we continue this conversation, but we knew our bodies could do it. So we almost went into the race, not cocky, but comfortable, because we knew whatever happened that day, we completed that distance 9 times before, and we could do it again. Which put us at ease and put us comfortable, and a lot of that comes down to the confidence we had in Brad and our training. It comes down to the fact that we knew we'd given it our everything, not just our training, but our recovery, our taper. Even me, who suffered a niggle sort of in the last week leading up to the marathon, it didn't stress me, because I knew, one, I dealt with it the best I possibly could, and I knew that whatever happened, I'd deal with it, and it would be fine. And the fact that lifting the pressure was just the best thing we could have done. We didn't necessarily, we set ourselves a goal of running a happy marathon, a comfortable marathon, one that we crossed the line knowing, did not feel like we were going to collapse,
run another one.
Which we did, by the way. We did definitely achieve the happy marathon. But of course, as humans, as people who are competitive with themselves, and not necessarily with each other actually, but with other people, we are slightly, we're quite competitive as a team.
Yeah. But in the way that we both want to push not like I want to beat you, but as in like I want us to.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So as like we're quite protective of like our competitive nature as a team. We want to be a strong force. Yeah. And so we did not feel like we had a point to prove, but we wanted to prove to everyone that we were as strong as we trained for, and that the sacrifice we'd made and the time we put in with Brad, we wanted to make him proud, obviously, but we wanted to prove people that it is all worth it if you really do it right.
Yeah, I think we had even though we ran pretty much all of it together apart from the last 5k, we had very different races.
Yeah.
So we both agreed actually that it was hard from the get-go. Like,
it was.
I don't think I ever felt like I was in a my perfect stride, just because having to stop every mile for water just broke your stride, and you'd run into the back of people, and then you're trying to drink water and you can't like breathe, and so there was that. I always felt a little bit manic.
Yeah, and it always felt like you were stop-starting a little bit. And also, definitely, like Em said, we had two kind of very different races. And actually, when we discussed it afterwards, actually, thought processes were quite similar throughout. Yeah. Like, I felt like Em was not running away from me, but I felt like I was kind of chasing her because I didn't want to let her down. And she felt the same, which is interesting. And we both kind of talked about the fact that maybe when we weren't, like, on top of each other, then we kind of breathed a little bit because we could still see each other and we were still aware of each other's being there. But when you've got that in the back of your head, you obviously don't want to slow the other person down or let the other person down, especially when it's us. We kind of always get that, or not always get that, but like you feel that pressure of knowing you want the other person to do really well. So we both up with that. The heat was like almost unbearable. It really was hot.
Suffered differently in heat, so because Hannah doesn't sweat, she gets really hot, whereas I sweat so much that I just get really low salt levels, sugar levels, everything, and I'll crash, whereas you'll be like hot.
Yeah.
But still, you've never, even we've run in hotter than this, you've never been massively affected by
I
the
never
heat.
really suffered from it, and I think we talked about it's probably pace. It makes a big difference. We were running a lot faster than we ever have over that distance. And the other thing that I noticed and I learned from it, and hopefully this will help you guys, is that yes, I did get really, really hot. I also had never felt like that when I was running, so you kind of panic a little bit, which obviously doesn't help. But the other thing I definitely did, looking back on it, is I felt like I was taking on loads of water because I was taking water at every station. But because I wasn't necessarily really, really thirsty, because you don't really feel like thirst, like I didn't feel like my throat was dry or anything. It wasn't like I was needed to quench my thirst. I was just really hot. Like my face was really hot, my body was really, really hot. So I was drinking a little bit and then pouring it all over myself to cool myself down, which felt great. But it did mean that I wasn't taking on a great amount of water because I wasn't absorbing it through my skin. Obviously, I wasn't drinking it. So I was actually dehydrating myself very, very quickly without realising. I also did the same with Lucozade, went to autopilot, drank a bit, poured it all over myself. Good idea. No, also not great for headphones.
No.
Or phones, turns out. So that was my error. Yeah. That was my mistake. And then because I dehydrated myself so much, one, my muscles tightened very, very, very quickly. And two, I had no appetite. And so much so that I just couldn't digest anything, which means I didn't eat. I barely ate anything throughout the whole race, which was not the plan, and definitely something that I need to work on.
We both need to, and also what we realised is we'd only practiced our food in the cold and not in the heat. So our flapjack that worked really well in the cold then just disintegrated into a pile of oats in my pocket, and was really hard to eat and run with. And also running at that higher pace where you're out of breath and trying to get on food, instead of our long training runs where we've been practicing our food had been at a slightly more comfortable pace, so that you could chew and run.
Just kind of get stuck here.
Yeah. And then for me, actually, I was quite impressed with how much water I did drink, because I'm normally horrific at drinking water while I'm running. So I think I did take on enough water on the course, just about, but I think also any more and I could have felt quite sick. My massive error was I didn't take anything salty with me, and that was, I'm a nutritionist myself, and that was just a huge schoolboy error. I think when we normally do our longer runs and our slower runs, we'll take sandwiches and things like that. So I'll have bread which is high in salt, and I'll have peanut butter that's high in salt, or bounce balls and stuff like that. There's the salt content in them. But whereas for the marathon, when you're running fast, I was not obviously going to stop for a sandwich break. So we had the flapjack and we had Lucozade jelly beans, which is stuff we practice and have worked. But I just had no salt intake. So as soon as the left, you could see the salt on my leggings, you had all these salt lines everywhere. And so when we split about 5k from the end, well, I said to Hannah, like, go on, I need to take on a little bit more water and I'll catch up with you. And I tried to push on, and I just cramped. And then I had to walk it off for about a mile, and I managed to shuffle the final mile. So for me, that was, I'm frustrated that that's something I definitely should have known, but at the same time, if I hadn't have made that mistake now, like, it would happen at some point down the line. So at least I've made it, and that's something I can learn from.
And also, I think we knew it was going to be hot. Yes, it was predicted 24 degrees. Actually,
it's making me so thirsty, this conversation.
We'd run in that heat before, and we'd run in 10 degrees hotter than that before, and not really suffered. And I just think we didn't put all the pieces of the puzzle together and think about what all of them together were going to accumulate to. We just simply saw it as, it's going to be hot, we need to remember to take on water, we need to buy 3/4 instead of long leggings. I mean, we were...
Fashion, top of list.
We were panicking. So we learnt a lot in that race, and we learnt a lot. And the more we've talked about it, the more we've kind of discovered that that's okay. And we sort of going back to sort of mindset and how we went into the race. And this is kind of a difficult one for us to admit, because we went in so strong, saying that we weren't running for time, which we weren't, by the way. We were running to run a happy, comfortable marathon. We have had time goals this year. We have time goals later this year. And that's great. But with this particular race, we wanted to run it strong. And we wanted to do that not just for ourselves, but for our team. And we did. But like every human being, the clock is there. The clock is on your wrist. It's at every single mile point. And you are aware of it. And we were also aware of the rough time that we, with our training runs, had predicted that we'd finished. On the day, they told everyone to add sort of 15 to 30 minutes onto your run to allow for heat, which we did as well, of course. But being the people that we are, and often believing that we are invincible, there was still that time goal in our head. And there's definitely areas that we've talked about where, like, finishing with the times that we did, that we're really, really proud of, really, really happy with, especially since we both ran almost 28 miles rather than 26.2. So even kind of more elated at our marathon times. we're still thinking about every single step of that race and how we could have got it quicker and how we could have been stronger or how we could have thought about things, and that's fine.
We were talking about it today, and for me, I was really at peace at the time when because we both had goals, and yours was to look up and appreciate London, and mine was to listen to my body. And now I was saying I was really at peace with my time on the day because I knew I couldn't run through that cramp. I tried to and I couldn't, and if I had the likelihood of me tearing something, like that's just not worth it. So in the race, I was really at peace of walking that mile and being that if it means I get to run across the line, then so be it. And it's more been the days afterwards that you forget the pain. So now I'm frustrated with myself because I think I could have run, and I know, like, looking back, because I know me as a person, you're exactly the same, that if I had any doubt that I could have run, I would have run.
Yeah.
So I'm annoyed in myself that I'm now slightly unhappy with my time, but even though at the time I was happy with it. So that's something I've got to work on.
But that's just looking back on and seeing it's so obvious to us now where we could have improved, or where we could have made changes to make our race that little bit faster, that little bit stronger, that little bit more enjoyable. And it's so obvious that you almost like hit yourself, a little kick yourself for not making those changes. I said exactly the same. Miles sort of 21 to 24, I felt really, really good. Like, body, I felt really good, but because I hadn't eaten, I just had nothing in me. So everything in my mind and my body wanted to push, but my muscles just had nothing. And I can remember the feeling at the time. I can remember exactly wanting to give it my everything and just not being able to. But still now, I'm like, why didn't I just push past it? Why didn't I just go for it? I could have knocked 1 or 2 minutes off if I'd have just pushed for it. But I remember distinctly at that time just having nothing to give. And that's okay, and that's because I made a mistake with my nutrition and with my hydration. And I know that for next time. And next time, I will go into that race well hydrated and with the correct nutrition that I need to be able to push those final 3 miles. And that's fine. And I will run the marathon that I want to run next time, because I've learned from my mistakes, and I'll probably make 1 million more next time. Of course I will, and I'll probably sit here telling you exactly the same thing but with a different problem that I encountered. But that's fine, that's what it's about.
Yeah, so in summary, from those London marathons, there's things that we're like, yes, I will do that again. I'll go in with the cool mindset that we had. That was so nice to not feel physically sick before a run. I would love to have more races like that.
Yeah, I will give everything to my training and listen to Brad when he tells me what my taper entails. We're still in the recovery process, and I'm totally, and normally we exercise for a living, and it can be quite frustrating when you can't do anything, but I actually for the first time feel very at ease with recovery. I guess that comes from knowing we gave it our all, and we had a really strong race, and I'm still moving and swimming, and we're walking when we can, but I am at ease with this recovery, and I'm looking forward. I've already we're setting goals already for the rest of this year, and actually different goals another time.
And there's so many things we're going to learn as well.
Yeah,
one of them for you, well, both of us, is more food and more salt. And learning how to drink water while running fast.
Yeah. Maybe even learning to run a bit faster.
So I hope you've enjoyed this slightly more personal race review of the London Marathon. And if you also run another marathon, and you feel you have things you want to share about what you want to take into your next one, and things you learned where you went massively wrong, but you're happy it went wrong because you're going to have a better marathon now from that. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe below, and we'll also put a link to Brad's profile, who's the guy that was not stop rabbiting on the whole video. He is truly incredible. He also ran the marathon with us, and definitely a lot to learn from him for everybody. Indeed, so see you back on TTH TV very soon. Bye.